Dragons Champion, Chapter 2. I didn't want to move from my bed. For the whole time, I've been switching from sleep to being awake. Rest is what I wanted and needed right now, as I've not been getting the best sleep. During that time, I'd been lost in a train of thought about PokeFest and how the day would progress. This caused a downward spiral, in turn leading me to toss and turn all night. This cycle has affected me negatively, as it seemed to never end. I sighed and closed my eyes to try and get rid of the thoughts of the battle later on. I wasn't looking forward to it and the craziness that came with the event. I laid there for a few more minutes, but it didn't take long before trying to rest was interrupted again. I opened my eyes to see Hop, my younger brother, heading down the hallway outside my bedroom. He passed by but stopped and backed up. He had to take a double take to see that I was still in bed. With his hands on his hips, he stood in the doorway. I knew that Hop had been awake. He let out a sigh before he stepped inside, standing at the foot of my bed. "Leon, you're not up yet?" He was louder than normal as his voice rang through my head. He watched me as he walked to the wall and flicked on the light. The suddenness of it made my headache worse. It bore down into my face and eyes. It was brighter than I had remembered. I grabbed the nearest pillow and threw it over my head. A low groan came from Hop when he came closer and nudged my shoulder. "You're going to be late for the battle if you keep laying around." "What if I don't want to go?" "Leon, you can't miss this. It's so important to so many people. Look at how many people you'd be letting down if you were to just skip out on this. It wouldn't be heartbreaking." "I get that it's important, but I hardly slept last night and I want to keep resting." Hop sighed. "I'm getting to the point that I'm going to have to do something to get you up. I know you're capable of doing so, but you're not only letting others down, but you're letting me down too. You know how much I love to see your battle against other trainers. Do you want that?" I removed the pillow from over my head to see the frown on Hop's face. I knew that he was right about this and not missing such an important event. On the other hand, having a dead, tired champion wasn't going to be fun either. I stared at Hop before I placed my pillow back over my head. This battle with Raihan had been the main thing on my mind. It would not leave me alone no matter what. Another sigh came from Hop. "I warned you that I'd have to do something to get you up, even though I don't want to do it." Without warning, Hop grabbed my blankets and tore them off of me, tossing them to the floor. I hugged and curled up as the cold encased me. It didn't take long before he also removed the pillow from over my head and tossed it onto the sheets. I turned my head and glared. "Was that necessary?" Hop nodded. "Yes, it was." "Let's get going before we're later than we already are." He paused. "I need to go get something too. I'll be in the bathroom when you're up." Hop turned and left the bedroom. I sat up and rubbed my face. I might as well get up and do what's needed. I swung my legs off the bed and put my feet into the lilac-colored slippers on the floor. Everything in my body was sore from the battles and training that's been thrown at me over the past few days. I'd also been doing extra training under Chairman Rose to be the next in line to take his place when he retires. That was a lot of work in and of itself. I dragged myself out of the bedroom with a sigh. I knew that there was no chance of me going back to sleep. I made my way into the bathroom where Hop was waiting. He shot me a wide smile as he handed me my toothbrush and toothpaste. The mint flavor of the paste had a sudden bite to it, but I knew it wasn't expired. I ignored that as Hop and I brushed our teeth, spitting into the sink when we were finished. Hop wiped his face and turned toward me. "I'm glad to see that you're awake." "I'm glad to see you're awake. I'm going to get changed, and you should do the same." I realized that I hadn't gotten dressed yet. This might not look good if I showed up to Wyndon in sleep clothes. Hop nodded. "I'll be waiting for you in the living room when you're done," Hop said as he walked out. I dragged myself back into my bedroom. I picked up my sheets and blankets from the floor and made the bed. I didn't like leaving a mess behind, as it wasn't like me to be that way, while the rest of the room was in order. I made my way to the corner where the stand that kept my champion's uniform on display. However, on the way to it, I stopped by the wall just before it to look at the pictures of past memories that had hung up there. There were so many things on this wall that I could remember from each of these pictures. In the middle was the largest of the pictures. It was of the current gym leaders lined up. That is all besides Opal, who had recently retired and appointed Marnie from Spikemuth to step in and take her place at the Fairy Gym. That is all besides Opal, who had recently retired and appointed Marnie from Spikemuth to step in to take her place at the Fairy Gym. On a shelf below that were many awards, medals, and trophies. It was a great honor to be the champion of Galar for as long as I have. It was clear to me now that I couldn't miss today or it wouldn't make me and the others I worked with look bad. I couldn't let the gym leaders or Hop down. I stopped looking at the picture and stripped out of my sleep clothes and grabbed my white leggings folded next to the stand that had black and gold checkered patterns on the sides. I slipped it on before the white shorts labeled with the black 1 on the left leg to present where I stood within the rankings of Galler. I grabbed the black sleeveless shirt with the pattern of blue sword over red shield on the front of it and put it on. Everything was snug, as these articles of clothing were the only things that I owned that were form-fitting. My long red cape with furry yellow fringes on the sides with scattered logos of sponsors supported me on the back side of it. I grabbed it and whipped it around and placed it upon my shoulders. With that movement is when I heard a crash of something falling to the floor. I froze to look down to see that my framed picture of Raihan and I in early days I'd knocked over from the bedside table face down on the floor. I noticed that we were both smiling in this picture with our arms wrapped around each other. This was taken after our very first battle. I swallowed and bent down to grab it and hoped that it wasn't broken as I turned it over. To my dread, it did break, as there's now a big crack that ran between our faces. With the picture as it is now, it felt like it had broken us apart. This wasn't a lie, as it did happen to us gradually over the years. I frowned as I put the picture back into its place on the table with a sigh. I didn't mean to break it, and now I felt terrible. I thought back to that day, the day where everything changed between us. That was the first time and the day we'd battled from the moment we became rivals. We were friends with each other for so long. Those were the times that I missed and the ones that I wanted back. Something deep inside of Raihan seemed to have changed, and it made him salty, and it came to the point where I didn't want to see him anymore. I fastened my cape around my neck. From the stand, I grabbed my hat and threw it on. I made sure that it was tipped back far enough so the crown on the printed on the other side was showing. On a shelf near the awards were my Pokemon in a glass case. As I grabbed the Pokeball I needed for today. That was the one that held my prized Charizard. I put the ball into my pocket where my Pokeballs are stored when I'm not home. It was the only Pokemon I was instructed to ring today by Chairman Rose. I had to listen to him and what he said to do, as Pokefest was an event that was planned for a while. I was ready and walked out of the bedroom into the living room where Hop waited. He'd gotten on his Rotom phone in the meantime, giggling to himself as he tapped the screen. Hop looked up and tucked the Rotom away and walked to the front door. I followed Hop to the door and put on my white shoes with black accents and a golden X-shaped strap. We opened the door and stood on the front porch as I locked the door behind us. We left and made our way to the corner and up the hill. What was that noise back in the house when you were getting ready? Did you break something? Don't worry about it. There's nothing wrong and nothing is broken. Hop rolled his eyes. Okay, I know that's a lie, but we'll deal with that later. Besides that, we need to get going. We're already a half an hour late. Hop turned to the open fields that surrounded us. We needed to make it to Wyndon fast. We were off to the train station located in Wedgehurst, north of here. That was the fastest transportation to Postwick that led all the way up into Wyndon. Hop skipped ahead a few paces as he was full of energy before he stopped ahead and waited and yelled over his shoulder at me. I'm so excited to see Marnie today, aren't you? I shrugged. I guess so. I mean, there will be other things than the battle to look forward to, right? Of course there is! You're the star of the show, and so is Raihan. You guys will be awesome to watch your battles being epic like always. I said nothing at the mention of Raihan and walked away without another word. Hop came and walked beside me, but he frowned. Hop was quick to notice when something was up. I'm sure that he didn't know how I felt about another battle with Raihan. The last match we had was stopped early, and it was not because of him, but it was because of me. It got called off for the safety of us and our Pokemon. They would have both been knocked out if he went through with his plans. I ended up breaking one of the rules that was set up for the match intentionally to prevent harm to all of us within the stadium. Hop put a hand on my shoulder. You'll be okay. I know you will. I kept walking silently and looked at the fields filled with Wooloo around us. One of the caretakers of the Wooloo, an older man, came over to the brick wall that divided us. He waved and Hop waved back as his smile returned. The support we got from Postwick often felt like too much sometimes. That was unavoidable. They cared too much about us. Good luck in your battle today, Leon. You'll do great. I said nothing in response to the old man. He spoke to us when we passed through or going outside of town. Everyone in Postwick was supportive of us, but felt different knowing I was what a foul and a fake that I am. I shook my head and sped up, leaving Hop a few paces behind me. He didn't realize that I'd kept moving, and when he saw me ahead, he had to jog to catch up. Wait! Lee, you're going too fast! I kept moving regardless of what he said, and came to a stop at the top of the hill to see that all the residents of Postwick were at the bottom waiting for us. When they noticed us, they started cheering me on loudly. There was no time for us to stop and chit-chat with any of them. I weaved my way past them and squeezed the way through the opening they had left for us into the station. I made my way inside and listened to the crowd grow silent. Hop looked up at the people that ran him and apologized along the way. When Hop came inside the station, all of the cheering had come to a complete stop and everyone walked away. Inside the station, I went to the counter. I got both of our tickets and turned to see Hop frowning. I almost ran into him in the process of turning around so fast. He kept his arms to his sides and spoke silently so nobody else could hear us. What's going on with you, Lee? This isn't like you to ignore people like that. They came to support you is all they wanted to do. I sighed and looked at the train terminal. I don't know. It's too hard for me to explain. I myself don't know the answer. It was too hard to think about the fact that I already let people down from the start. I couldn't take today, but going to this event was for Hop and not to crush him or anyone else. I don't know what's going on with me, I said as I turned and entered the gates that led to the terminal and the trains beyond it.